Good Friday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversation Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Well, we made it to the end of another week with, of course, you have your news headlines coming up on this Friday. We have a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and in today's Entertainment Spotlight, even part of my conversation with master event planner, entrepreneur, author, and extraordinaire of so many things, Melissa Banks. You don't want to miss that. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Friday headlines. In national news, Trump executive pleads guilty in tax case, agrees to testify. A top executive at former President Donald Trump's family business pleaded guilty on Thursday to evading taxes on a free apartment and other perks, striking a deal with prosecutors that could make him a star witness against the company at a trial this fall. Alan Weisselberg, a senior Trump Organization advisor and formerly the company's longtime chief financial officer, pleaded guilty to all 15 of the charges he faced in the case. In a low, somewhat hoarse voice, Weisselberg admitted taking in over $1.7 million worth of untaxed extras, including school tuition for his grandchildren, free rent for a Manhattan apartment, and lease payments for a luxury car, and explicitly keeping some of the plums off the books. The judge agreed to sentence the 75-year-old executive to 5 months in New York City's Rikers Island jail complex, although he will be eligible for release much earlier if he behaves behind bars. The judge said Weisselberg will have to pay nearly $2 million in taxes, penalties, and interest and complete 5 years of probation. The plea bargain also requires Weisselberg to testify truthfully as a prosecution witness when the Trump Organization goes to trial in October on related charges. The company is accused of helping Weisselberg and other executives avoid income taxes by failing to report their full compensation accurately to the government. Trump himself is not charged in the case. In more national news, judge appears willing to unveil some of Mar-a-Lago affidavit. A federal judge on Thursday ordered the Justice Department to put forward proposed redactions as he committed to making public at least part of the affidavit supporting the search warrant for former President Donald Trump's estate in Florida. The U.S. judge gave prosecutors a week to submit a copy of the affidavit with proposed redactions for the information it wants to keep secret after the FBI seized classified and top-secret information during a search at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate last week. The hearing was convened Thursday after several news organizations, including the Associated Press, sought to unseal additional records tied to last week's search, including the affidavit. It is likely to contain key details about the Justice Department's investigation, examining whether Trump retained or mishandled classified and sensitive government records. The Justice Department has adamantly opposed making the affidavit public, arguing that doing so would compromise its ongoing investigation, would expose the identities of witnesses, and could prevent others from coming forward and cooperating with the government. In more national news, the Associated Press says breathing room for Biden, big summer wins ease 2024 doubts. President Joe Biden and his allies hope big recent wins on climate, healthcare, and more will at least temporarily tamp down questions among top Democrats about whether he will run for re-election. That optimism may be short-lived, at risk if and when former President Donald Trump announces another White House campaign. But for now, the will he or won't he Washington parlor game appears to be on hold. In just the past several weeks, Biden has signed into law a climate and prescription drug package that accomplishes many of his party's long-held objectives. Congress has sent him bills that impose strict limits on guns and set out a plan to boost U.S. high-tech manufacturing. A drone strike killed an al-Qaeda leader. Average gas prices have fallen below $4 per gallon, and there are signs that inflation, while still white-hot, may finally be cooling. In sports, Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson settles for 11-game suspension. Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson will serve an 11-game unpaid suspension, pay a $5 million fine, and undergo professional evaluation and treatment as part of a settlement with the NFL following accusations of sexual misconduct by 24 women. The league had sought to ban Watson for at least 1 year for violating its personal conduct policy. He was accused of sexually harassing and coercing the women during massage therapy sessions while he played for the Houston Texans. Watson signed a $230 million fully guaranteed contract after being traded to the Browns in March. The three-time Pro Bowler will lose $632,500 in salary this season while serving the suspension, which takes effect August the 30th. And finally, in business news, U.S. stocks waver in another round of choppy trading. Stocks wavered on Wall Street Thursday in another round of choppy trading that has mostly held back major indexes following a weeks-long run of gains. The S&P 500 rose 0.1%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 51 points to 33,927, and the Nasdaq rose 0.1%. Technology companies had some of the strongest gains. Cisco Systems rose 5.9% after reporting solid financial results. Energy stocks made solid gains as U.S. crude oil prices rose 2.7%. Smaller company stocks outpaced the broader market, sending the Russell 2000 index 0.4% higher. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. Enjoy. Good Friday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Words I Choose to Live By. When times get rough and you have done all you can, be willing to let go. Let the one who can do no wrong steer you in the right direction. Have an amazing Friday and enjoy your weekend. Melissa Banks is featured in today's Entertainment Spotlight. We're here on Conversations Daily News. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with Entertainment Spotlight. Master event planner, entrepreneur, author, and so much more, Melissa Banks, join me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about her extraordinary journey. Here's a bit of our conversation.
I want to talk about this experience for you because you've shared about your journey in the past, but what has it been like for you to kind of reflect on the past 20 years that you've been able to share your platform with the world, and now I think more recently letting us know more behind the scenes of the makings of Melissa Banks. What has that been like for you?
It's been quite an experience, and it's amazing you asked that question right now because at this point I've been reflecting back, even back to the very beginning, and I've talked about this publicly before, how it all got started. And it wasn't with a dream of an entrepreneur journey. It was God just placing that vision in me at a moment that I felt very desperate, and I felt like my life was scary. I didn't know how to move forward. That was the beginning when God planted that dream, that vision of having a business. And at that time, I didn't know what that meant because I didn't know people who looked like me who had businesses. Nobody in my family had businesses. It was not a dream. So as I look back to that moment where that dream was placed in me, and then I look at some of the great things that's happened on this journey, how much I have learned, but also some obstacles that have happened on this journey and some difficult challenges that I faced. And someone mentioned earlier they were afraid to fall down. Well, I've fallen down many times over this past 20 years. But what's always kept me together and what has always kept me moving forward was that knowing in my gut and my spirit that this dream was planted here and was not planted here to fail. It was planted here to succeed. So each time that I've fallen or I faced a challenge, it just pushed me to moving forward and to keeping going. And that's the biggest lesson through the entire journey.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning into this edition of Conversations Daily News. We'll be back with you guys on Monday with more news, message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and of course, your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Then let's go make it a great one.